Hey guys, so today we're going to talk about Korean resumes and how Korean resumes are very different from American resumes in about three categories. So first of all, in a Korean resume, you need to put in a picture of yourself. Very nice, pretty, bright, and smiling. And mostly to get these pictures, usually people go to professional studios so they know how to change your face. So while I was like sitting there at the studio, seeing how they're editing my face, I didn't know I had so much flaws on my face. Like they were changing everything. It was like basically not me in the end, but like I found out my nose wasn't centered enough. My left eye was bigger than my right eye. My shoulder needed more straightening out, and my neck needed more thinning out. So basically, I was sitting in the studio and I was feeling like, wow, these people have some skills. They gonna change your face pretty well, but maybe in the end, it might not be you. But anyway, so that's what a Korean resume requires. You need to put a photo in it. There are pros and cons to this. First of all, I asked a lot of people why they think that putting a photo in a resume might be necessary. And one of the answers that came back was because people, when they're screening out people, they can sort of judge according to their sort of ambience. You know, do they look friendly? Do they look nice? But to tell the truth, I don't see the point in that, because if everyone's getting altered at these nice studios and everyone's looking pretty and nice and kind, I don't know how that screening out process works then. And of course, a lot of Koreans do know that when you ask them what do you think the cons might be for putting in a photo in a resume, is, well, it really sort of hails appearance, you know, like the culture then revolves around appearances and less on other factors that might be more important. So, for me, I feel like maybe you need photos for resumes if you're an HR representative and you've already interviewed them and you forgot how they look like, so you know you need to like screen out a lot. But other than that, I see no point in a photo for a Korean resume. This is what they made me look like. Does it look like me? Korea and Japan are the only two countries that still require photos for their resume, a majority of the corporations. And the second component in a Korean resume that's very different from an American resume is that you need to put in your family background. So you need to put in your family background here. And basically what you're putting in is your father's, name, your mother's name, your siblings' names, their occupations, their age, and then I asked around again. I was like, why do you need family background in resumes? And so one of the things is, if you're a company and you're screening out millions of people, you would want to choose a person that might have good connections. So if your dad was, let's say, a judge, or your dad was a prosecutor, or your dad, I don't know, you wrote, I don't know, a big corporation CEO. If you put in something like that, they know that when they hire you, they're not just hiring you, they're hiring the potential amount of connections and network that you can bring to the company. And this is very important, because you can be like, oh, actually, my dad knows this kind of person. Maybe he will be a good fit for the company. Why don't you do some kind of business transaction with them? And of course, this isn't just restricted to a Korean society, because in the US, for example, if you go to a university and your dad is an alum for that university, or your mom is an alum for that university, there's a highly likelihood for you to also be accepted at that university, because being an alum is very important. That shows how connection or networking is very important in this world. But basically, putting it out too explicitly on a resume, I feel like already screens out so many potential candidates who can bring better skills, but they were just not born with good connections. Like, how are you supposed to help that? You can't choose who you're born to, or you can't choose what kind of environment you lived in. So yeah, I feel like there are pros and cons to this as well. But personally, I feel like it will be better if you don't put in your background, because people who already know that company anyway would get in anyway. In Korea, you call that parachuting. So in Korean, it's 낙하산. So that means if you know someone personally in a company, and you just get hired because you know that person in a company, you're parachuting. Okay, so next part of the resume that is a little bit different from an American resume is that you need to have certificates for your skills. So you need certificates proving that you can do something. In an American resume, I can be like, oh, I speak English, I speak Spanish, I speak Chinese, I speak this, I know Microsoft Word, I know Excel, Photoshop, blah, 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 blah. In a Korean resume, if you want to write those skills down, you need to have a certificate, an international certificate that's proving that you are actually capable of doing those things you've just mentioned. One of the reasons why they might require this is because this is a very small country, but more than 50 million people live in it. Like half of which all live in Seoul. And you have very highly educated people that all have similar skills. Seriously, what kind of licenses you might have other than the other person, or how high is your score for the TOEFL, English competency test, like TOEIC or TOEFL. Like, even a few scores above someone else might really get you the job. So it's a very competitive society. So either Korea has to expand its land, or the population needs to sort of move around the world, so it becomes, less competitive if we want to sort of change this resume culture. So those are the three things that are very different. If you're a foreigner looking for a job in Korea, this might not apply to you, because probably you would be sending in your English resumes. If for gyopos like us, gyopo in Korean just means a Korean person who was born or lived overseas for a vast amount of time. So like if you're Korean American, Korean Australian, Korean Chinese, when you come to Korea, you automatically become gyopo. So it means like, you were raised or born abroad. So if you're a gyopo, there might be more requirements. So you need, because probably you'll be applying to companies that's has foreign headquarters, like, I don't know, Google, Facebook. So you might need to put in two resumes, which is your English resume and your Korean one. So more work for us. Yes. So those are the different things. So if you're a foreigner in Korea, you probably just need an English resume. But if you're doing like an English teaching job, also they'll require you to send a separate photo of you. I do not know what the purpose of this was, but this is a very controversial topic, because some people were screened out of the resume process as foreigners because of their skin color when they were applying to be English teachers. So this is a very icky, sensitive issue. So yeah, basically, maybe a lot of, but the trend these days in Korea, because the whole world's becoming globalized, and every country is becoming sort of Americanized or westernized, a lot of companies are now moving towards sort of the American resume trend, where they don't require photos, or they don't require writing your family background, because they want to judge you solely by your skills, not your unfortunate background, for example. One more thing that's different is an American resume, you put in cover letters, right? So like, dear whom it may concern, like you write some of your experiences and why you are needed at this job. But in a Korean one, you would have to write sort of 3 parts in your cover letter. And that cover letter is more of like a self-introductory letter. So the first part you will write, your background, like how you were brought up. So you'll be like, I was brought up in a very peaceful family, and my dad was very entrepreneurial, and that made me become a very adventurous and dynamic person, stuff like that. And what's funny is, because everyone really wants to write greatly about their sort of personal background, everyone ends up sort of having similar dads. Maybe there's only one dad with 50 million kids. But anyway, so like everyone's dads are very, you know, very diligent, and they were all brought up in families that were very peaceful and, you know, caring. So that one, and also you need to write what you can bring to the company. So like your aspirations within the company. And so those are some of the stuff you need to write in a Korean self-introductory letter, which is a little bit different from a cover letter. So you can see sort of the overall, focus in a Korean, maybe society or the culture, that it sort of focuses on your background. And it does focus on networking and connections. But of course, this doesn't apply only to Korea. Like anywhere else in the world, connections very important, networking is very important, because who you know is how much further you can get in life. Because we're all interdependent animals. So yeah, like in China you have guanxi, which is like networking, basically relationship. So like all of that's important. You know, if you go to the US, that's going to be important too. In Europe, that's going to be important. But maybe, you know, it would be a better world if that was a little less important. But yeah, so that's my little spiel on the differences on Korean resumes and American resumes. And soon I think I'm gonna ask around actual HR representatives what they think about our resume culture. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!